The next question is for our candidates for District 6, Ms. Adams, Mr. Darden. In an effort to ensure that all students are prepared to enter college and the workforce, 45 states, including Georgia, have adopted the Common Core standards. The Common Core will be introduced this fall, and it will specify standards for reading, language arts, and mathematics. What is the best way for the school system and the school board to prepare teachers and students for changes such as this? And we'll begin with Ms. Adams.
Well, we've got to have professional development for whatever new thing the state brings to us. One thing that No Child Left Behind lacked is the idea that all of our students are not going to college. And we have to prepare our students for whatever it is they are going into, whether it's technical school or straight into the workforce, or if they are going to college. But we've got to prepare them to make sure they're ready for whatever they're doing upon graduation. So whatever it is that the state brings down to us, I personally like this one better than the No Child Left Behind that the federal government gave us a few years ago. So we'll see how it all plays out, but it's just a matter of professional development.
And Mr. Darden?
Well, the Common Core standards are changing, so as Mr. Callaway said, there's so many measuring sticks out there as what you can measure to, and what national standards that they have. We use the CRCT, not all systems use that. This Common Core standard will allow us to compare ourselves with 45 other states, so you pretty much are comparing yourself on a basis per basis equally across the board. You hear about our SAT scores being somewhat lower than others. Well, in Georgia, anybody that's got the price has probably gone up, but the $50 to take the SAT test can take the test, whether they've had AP classes or not. But when you look at it and break it down into our top 10% students who should be taking it, we top out one of the best in the state, and we match those in other states. What we're going to have to do with the Common Core standards is just like we've done with every other change that comes down from the state of Georgia. You get these and you start going, all of a sudden they change horses on you in the middle of the stream. And we have successfully over the years, once we see those standards, work with our teachers, work with our students. Well, first year's going to stink. I'll tell you that right now, because you're changing things on them. But once we get a hold of that and understand what it is they're looking for and going for, you'll see us begin to achieve at the levels, and then get that fair comparison with the 44 other states that are in it. So there's no doubt about whose numbers you're looking at, what numbers you're looking at. You're looking at the same numbers across the board, and therefore you'll know really where you stand. Thank you.
Our next question is directed to the District 6 candidates, and we'll start with Mr. Darden in response. The state of Georgia has changed the way the graduation rate is calculated, resulting in a statewide drop from 81% to 67.4%, and a similar drop in Troup County from 80% to 64%. When you adjust for the change in calculation method, however, it appears that Georgia has actually seen its graduation rate increase by 9% since 2007, and Troup County's has increased by 16%. What do you believe are the major reasons the graduation rate has increased, and what will you do to improve it? Mr. Gardner.
Well, that's one of the problems that I was trying to address earlier when we talked about the 45 states going to the same standards. Every so often we get a different formula to use in trying to figure out what graduation is going to be this year. And so we move up and down the scale. But what we've done here in Troup County is, we look at our numbers. We go back, I have to go back to the CRCT and other tests. And if you've been in any of our schools lately and you see there's a data wall almost in every school in which, even down to the individual student, we know where they are at and how they are doing in those areas. And we seek to give them extra help. Kind of the same problem with AYP. Those rules apply to every student, no matter their intellectual functionability. So we have to go back and work with those. And the biggest thing we've done in Troup County over the past 5 or 6 years maybe, is we introduced graduation coaches. in our high schools. And our graduation coaches pull these kids out that look like they're going to have trouble finishing school, graduating, whether it's with an AP diploma or whatever, and work with them on a one-on-one basis to help them stay involved, to help them with their learning, and to help increase our graduation rate. And of course, Jim, you said it earlier, if you look at us over the years, you know, it's not jumping from 60% to 95% in 1 year. You do that, you're going to get investigated, I promise you. But we have made steady gains every year in our graduation rate. Until they changed the rules, we were doing well. Now we're back up. And that's what we're going to continue to do, work with our graduation coaches, continue to increase those numbers in graduation, just like, you know, we do with everything else in there. We're going to look for the weak people, help them out, get through, and try to get through with graduation. That is our ultimate goal.
Thank you, Ms. Adams.
Regardless if you use the new method or the old method, our graduation rate is not acceptable. So we have got to figure out something else to do that will work better than what we're doing now. I think one thing we really need is clear communication. We've got to get to know these students better, and we've got to figure out what it is that we can do as teachers, as leaders in the school system, to meet them where they are. We have got to have data driven decision making. We've got to know our students, and that's what the data rooms that Mr. Gardner referred to. It's all about knowing our students and continuing to dig deep and figure out what it is and how we can meet the needs of each of our students.
Thank you. My next round of questioning is actually going to be for our District 6 candidates, and we'll ask Ms. Adams to start. The question is, are our schools safe? What can be done to ensure the safety of students, faculty, and staff on our school campuses?
No, our schools are not safe. I would love to say they're safe, but if you look at the discipline reports and the incidents of guns and so forth, we've got, you know, we've got to do something. We've got to have better communication. We've got to have the leadership being stronger supporters in order in their school. They have the opportunity as principals to set that standard of order, and order has to be established at every single school in our county. So it comes from the principals, and they have got to set a climate of order in their schools.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner.
Well, when you ask the question, are our schools safe, you know, immediately people go to the guns, they go to the knives, they go to everything else in there. If you look at our safety, you know, how many guns makes a school unsafe? Well, one, that's for sure. And we sweated it out for many years, just waiting for that day to come when there would be a gun showing up in school. What we're talking about here is another social ill that's brought to our school system. Just like we talked about the early learning, what could we do to try and bring kids in better prepared starting at kindergarten? What can we do about the guns and the knives and those sorts of things? Back in the day, a long time ago, we settled our differences with fights, and we'd end up with 2 or 3 days in school suspension and a whipping from whoever came along to do that. Today, however, our fights tend to seethe for about 2 or 3 weeks, and young people tend to want to get back, and they will bring or sneak a weapon in to try and do that. I think we're very fortunate in our school that we've had no kind of fatality, and I certainly hope that never happens. But you have to look at providing safety and, you know, looking with, we started a program, I know our principals did, with working with the kids to don't be afraid to tell if you see something in school. And I think most of our guns, if I'm not mistaken, have been turned in or been told about by students who are in there to come and see. And of course, we get on that as fast as we can. I think you can, you know, use the drug dogs, you can use the dogs, you can use the metal detectors, but you also got to be aware at the same time of while you're doing that of how much it interferes with the daily educational process. Just think about going through Atlanta Airport. One ding on a metal detector, you're going to be there for 10 to 15 minutes, getting patted down and everything. Try getting the kids in the school. So we do need some more answers with that. Wish I could tell you, have one to solve it, I'd patent it and sell it to every school, but unfortunately, we're not able to do that at this point in time, but we will continue working on it with our alternative schools.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.